Welcome back to the final and the fifth session of today, of the second day of IALA 2021. And this will be about embracing e-navigation. And our chair is Mr. Mahesh Alimchandani. He's the head of navigation safety at the Australian Maritime Safety Authority. He's a master mariner and has served on ocean-going cargo ships for over 14 years. And he's the recipient of an Australia Day Achievement Award in 2004 and the EMSA Chairman's Award in 2011. Let's see if he's already there. There you are. Welcome to the show.
G'day, Pauline. Good to be with you.
Very good to be with you. How are you doing?
Very well. Considering it's 11 p.m. here on this side of the world, I'm doing very well.
Okay, good. Well, I will give the floor to you so you can introduce the final speakers of today.
Thank you, Pauline, and hello, everyone. I trust you found these very diverse sessions and the topics presented so far to be thought-provoking. I certainly have. The theme of our symposium is Enhanced Maritime Safety and Efficiency by Connectivity. So let's just focus on the connectivity aspect of the theme. For this session, let's just take connectivity to mean the linking of ship and shore with relevant and timely information, just like the IHO Secretary General stressed yesterday. The IMO e-navigation strategy implementation plan that was updated in 2018 identifies 5 e-navigation solutions. Of these, 3 solutions deal with the efficient transfer of information between ship and shore. Therefore, quite clearly, the exchange of information is a key enabler for e-navigation. IMO's plan also identifies maritime services as the means of transferring such information electronically and in a harmonized manner. And an initial description of such maritime services has already been completed. So stated simply, maritime services refer to the provision and exchange of maritime-related data and information in a harmonized format. But there's much more to it than this simplistic definition. Our first speaker, Axel Hahn, will tell us more about maritime services. Axel is a full professor and leads the working group on system analysis and optimization at the Carl von Ossietzky University in Oldenburg. He is a board member of the Research Institute Office, Institute for Informatics, and leads the Department of Transportation in transition to become an Institute of Systems Engineering for future mobility of Germany's Research Center for Aeronautics and Space. At Office, Axel coordinates the research activities for maritime transport systems. His research addresses design, simulation, analysis of safety-critical, socio-technical systems in maritime transportation. A quick spoiler alert, I hope you all like pizza, because after this session, you may want to get some pizza. So I won't steal any more of Axel's thunder. Axel, the floor is yours. Over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pauline and Mahesh. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you to all people around the world. Good morning, good day, good evening. And I hope at least you are hungry with pizza, because I, as chairman of a working group 1 on harmonization in the ENAV committee, were often asked, hey, can you explain all the stuff you're discussing that everybody can able to understand it? And that's the challenge I would like to address today. And so this example of the pizza is credits go to Omar Fritz Eriksson, perhaps a lot of people know. And the deal here is really the question, what eating a pizza means for e-navigation. And we try to use this as an analogy to explain the concepts of the maritime services. And before we do that, let's have a look on the concepts we have in e-navigation. So what is e-navigation all about? As Mahesh already introduced, it's about, of course, to enhance the safety and security. And this is done often, of course, to make a better organization. A better organization needs data to be exchanged, ship to shore, shore to ship, ship to ship, and all that stuff. And this can be regarded, let me say, as a little bit as you all knew about everyday experience, because you're using your smartphone with dedicated apps to access services around the world. to do your daily business, to have fun, to do everything, to get the weather forecast as tomorrow. And we use then the question of ordering a pizza from a franchise company as an analogy for navigation. And to do so, to start that, I have brought this example here to handle with you. And so this is all about e-navigation. And what's about pizza? Yeah, pizza, the question here is with pizza is the following. Look, thinking about a hungry person wants to order a pizza fungi. Yeah, so it's like the mariner wants to retrieve information on traffic warnings from a VTS center, just to take this as an example. And this, especially pizza, can be ordered from a pizza store outlet, Tony's Pizzas in Hamburg. And in the analogy, the navigator wants to retrieve this information from a VTS center, Cuxhaven Elbe traffic, as a service provider for this. And of course, there has to be a coordination for that. And how to do that and provide all the definitions to do that is because Pizza Tony is part of a franchise company. And all the outlets are coordinated by a pizza store company. And this role has the IMO, and it defines for the maritime services providing this information from a VTS center and requested the IALA as a domain coordinating body to provide this necessary information. So if we come back to the hungry person who wants to eat a pizza, and it is opening the pizza store menu and to see what informations and that provides the information what pizzas are offered and how pizza will be delivered. And of course, the telephone number and web page for the pizza store outlet, Tony's Pizza, people can retrieve information. So if you now look for the same thing in the e-navigation domain, so for the mariner, yeah, so what is available as an information can be taken from a maritime service. Number one, that is the information from VTS center specification. That is written by IALA that is to describe the operational perspective. So operational perspective means what the mariners can take from this service. What is the data, what is information provided for the mariners. So, and how the pizza will be delivered is something typically you're not anymore interested while sitting on the table having the pizza in front of you. But of course, how it gets to you is important, and this is described by something we named a technical service description. Yeah, and the telephone number, the web page to order that pay is in some kind of a service registry that is offering you the information how to access the VTS center Cuxhaven Elbe traffic. To get this information. And to follow up with this example on my next slide here is, okay, now we have it. The pizza is then be delivered by bike, car, or can be picked up. So, and the maritime safety information provided to the mariner is sent, for instance, wireless by using a communication channel, for instance, VDES, or using LTE, or using Navtex, wherever you can name it. So, and the pizza itself is prepared by using a standard recipe. Yeah? And this recipe is something normally, it's not of any interest if you have pizza in front of you. Here, you're interested, it's good for you and it's tasteful. Yeah? So, but of course, there's something like a standard recipe to provide the information that is applied by the service provider, the traffic information center, and it's structured by something we name a data model. So it's nothing more as a recipe. It has nothing to do with the special preparation of this individual piece of pizza, except that it provides the standard how to do it and explains how to do it. So it has to be, let me say, defined. And then the ingredients, so the dough, the fungi, the tomato, and the cheese are processed as defined in this recipe. And the data entry, so data is the raw pieces, bits and pieces sent to you that in the end, in your understanding, provide you with the information, is structured and expressed by the way it is described in the data model. So the data entities is the ingredients of the pizza, so the ingredients of the information delivered to you, and it is structured by for the pizza by the recipe, and for the data by the data model, how to explain it to you. Okay, now back to e-navigation. So what we have actually now is the following. If we look now back on e-navigation, how it is working. Yeah, so we have a navigation service, that is the gray box on the right side of my screen actually now. And we that is something the user sees. So the user sees that, and of course the whole thing is described as a maritime service. And if you have your mobile in your hand and you open just an app, you have an interface, a user interface to this client. Yeah, it could be a weather forecasting app, or it could be part of your actors on board of the vessel, parts of your integrated navigation system that is providing you with the information you can receive here. And this system, yeah, transparently is communicating by a dedicated means of communication, LTE, satellite communication, Wi-Fi, whatever you know that is available and what is defined, and get the information from a server. And this communication between the client to server and the specification dealt with that interface are then specified by the technical service specification, and the information processed here. The data entities are structured in a way the data model is describing it. So what we have actually now here is, of course, the definition of the gray box. That is the maritime services, and here the IMO is providing a template, and IALA put all these description for this maritime service one into it. And there is a number of services. Actually, there is a list of 16. There's discussion of extending it. That is on the right side of my screen. But anyway, the maritime service specification is a formal description from the perspective of the user. So how it is for, what information is presented. And it's provided by the maritime service, by the IMO, and as coordinating body, especially for 1, 2, and 3, this information comes from the IALA to provide this information. Okay, let's go further on. As I said, the client is discussing and taking the information, exchanging data to a server, and this is defined by a technical realization. So we have a technical service inside the service with server specification, how the client is discussing and exchanging this information transparently, invisible for the user. And this is described by a technical service, and we have a standard at IALA how to do that. This is for the tech guys, for the nerds like me. We read it, we use it to develop and program the client to provide the information to the mariners. So that is the things IT people typically do, reading this stuff and make them interoperable. And the next thing then is, of course, the data model. As I said, recipes, how to structure the data. It's also only information that the data is handled and presented in a way. The language, let me say, is defined as we use here English as at least what I name English as a communication means. I have a terminology, and all the things is, let me say, specified in the data model. And typically we try to use S100 as a standard data model everywhere to handle that. So now we have anything together, and what we can do now is we can set things together. And I have this, for instance, for the maritime services, and there's a specific maritime service for maritime safety information that has very, very similar aspects as maritime service number 1, and just have this as an example. So the maritime service is specified by the IMO, and there's a specific service for maritime safety information. It can retrieve information and present that in the actors, and it's exchanging information here by using a specific data model. It could be S100, 1 to 4, but it's a specific part of the S100 family of all the specifications for data models, and can be reused here. So we have, in the end, the analogy here. We have a menu, what is information are presented from the maritime services. We have a way to how it is delivered. For instance, it is delivered by Wi-Fi or by the internet to an actors. And then how this is done is by the recipe. And this picture on the right side is part of the standard from the IMO saying that a maritime service can use one or more technical services to retrieve the information. So, and they are specified in a technical service specification, and the data provided by these technical services are structured in a way the data model specifications, various subsets of S100 are defined there. Very important is that this is the only what you need to have that available. And of course, a maritime service, as it is described here in the gray box, can take information together from various services. So bring the things together, or it's just one app, like my weather app on my smartphone. Who knows? My smartphone app knows that the best weather reports coming from the German Weather Service and the Norwegian Weather Service, especially from my area, and is getting the information from one of these services. So that is, in a nutshell, the idea of maritime services. And of course, I hope you still have some hunger, and especially Mahesh, a good night dinner for you. I wish you a lot of fun with the pizza and wish you safe navigation with all the fun you have to enjoy your pizza. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are we looking forward to some
Axel.
pizza?
And I think I certainly will after this session. But Pauline, in many Axel's presentation goes to the very heart of what e-navigation services are all about. And while Axel has laid the groundwork very well, there are many other strands to this: the choice of platforms for e-navigation services, cybersecurity. And these are all issues that IALA is dealing with in the eNav committee. So that's for a later session. And I always like examples. So I think Axel's pizza example will stay with us for a long time. But now to tell us a bit more about maritime services and to introduce the concept of something known as maritime connectivity platforms, I'd like to invite Thomas Christensen. In 2008, Thomas was the eNav project manager at the Danish Maritime Authority. And from 2011 to 2016, he led its e-navigation team. Thomas has also been involved in a number of eNav-related European Union projects like Efficiency, Axes, and he was the project manager for Efficiency 2. Thomas has also represented Denmark in e-navigation matters at IMO and IALA, and he has also organized the e-navigation underway series of international conferences since the first one in 2011, under the auspices of Denmark and IALA. More recently, Thomas has worked on the establishment of the Maritime Connectivity Platform Consortium as a governing body for the MCP. The consortium was established a year later, that's in 2019, and Thomas was elected as its Secretary General. Over to you, please, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Mahesh. And thank you very much to the organizers for having me here. It's very much a pleasure. And good morning, everybody. I think we need a new word because we are always meeting now online and from all time zones. And I think we need to say good morning now. So I will be talking about advances of the Maritime Connectivity Platform, or how to get a pizza part 2. And of course, as we know, e-navigation is all about exchange of information, and it's all about connectivity, as was clear from even the first presentations yesterday from Francis Zakaria and Mattia Jonas talking about connectivity. This is really what is important. And the exchange of information in a modern way using contemporary technology. And this was actually one of the emphases in Brian Wadsworth's first letter to the IMO back in 2005 that started the whole e-navigation process. The use of contemporary technology, where we know that the maritime domain have been lagging a little bit behind other domains. So, contemporary technology, what is that? And how is exchange of information done today? That is done through services. And what is services? Having been with the e-navigation community for many years, that has been a source of much confusion. Thankfully, Axel just made a very, very good presentation explaining this, where we have the maritime services on the high level that has been much discussed for many years. The maritime services describing things on a very high level, VTS services, hydrographic services, maritime safety information, but these maritime services do not facilitate the exchange of any digital information. For that, as Axel explained, we need to have the technical services. And in the description of the maritime services, we have placeholders for these technical services, and they are in the IMO descriptions called associated technical services. So they are technical services associated with the maritime services. And also it is important to note that these exchange of information through services is very much done computer to computer. Of course, in the end, there will be somebody navigating a ship or operating in VTS, or maybe only monitoring the operations of an autonomous vessel. But most of this information will be done between computers, machine to machine. So now I keep pressing the keyboard for next slide. That's not going to work, Thomas. So now a little bit promotion for some IALA guidelines here that Axel also mentioned briefly. We have guidelines for these technical services. Guideline 1128, the specification of e-navigation technical services. And we really need to get up to speed to make these technical services. There's been a lot of focus in the e-navigation world to work with the maritime services. There's been a lot of working on data modeling and the product specifications that contains the data models, which of course is super important, but we need more focus on the development of technical services. And also, we are going towards using the internet more and more. And that gives a lot of benefits, a lot of technology we can take down from the shelves and use when we use internet technology. And when we go into that area of using internet technology, the services that we're going to implement are called web services. And there's another guideline for that, which is more recent than the more general 1128. So this is a complementary guideline that explains how to create web services for exchange of S100 data. It's called 1157. So these guidelines are there to be used to create these technical services that will allow for this exchange of information in the maritime domain. And these guidelines, I would say, not only for IALA. Let's not reinvent the wheel again and again. I hope other organizations in the maritime domain will adopt these guidelines and use them, like we are seeing for the unique identifiers, maritime resource names that are being adopted by other organizations. That is very, very useful. But Thomas, you were supposed to talk about MCP, the Maritime Connectivity Platform. So how does that fit in here? Well, Axel mentioned a service registry. And in the pizza terminology, that was kind of the yellow pages where you would be able to find the phone number of the pizzeria. So we need a service registry. And in particular, when we go into the internet, we have, well, we all know what's on the internet. There's a lot of things there. There's a lot of good actors, there's a lot of bad actors. We need to be able to find services, and a computer that needs to find a service, don't go to Google and try to find a specific service. It needs a reliable, organized service registry that it can request for services that it needs. So part of the MCP is a service registry for technical e-navigation services that can be found by anybody that needs them. And There are other challenges. There's also been talked a lot about security and cybersecurity and secure services. And there are several aspects of that. But one of the main aspects of that is trusted identities. And again, going into the internet, everybody is connected to everybody. And when a ship, for instance, enters a VTS area, it needs services in the future, possibly on the internet. It needs services for the VTS. How can the vessel be sure that the VTS and the services really are coming from that VTS center and not some evil meaning actor? And the same goes the other way, of course, when the ship needs to do reporting to the VTS, to other authorities, those receiving that information needs to know that it is in fact coming from the ship with the identity that it claims to be having. So that is another very important aspect of this information exchange that we need to achieve. So despair not, the MCP has recovered with an identity registry, providing trustworthy means of validation of entities, both of users, but maybe even more importantly by machines, so they can exchange information and know the identity, trusted identity by the both receiving and providing party. So the core components of the MCP is an identity registry for trusted and verifiable identities, a service registry for service discoverability, and it has another party trick up its sleeve, a messaging service for secure and reliable information exchange. That is important for vessels where, of course, connectivity is a little bit more challenging than on land. So the messaging service will mitigate some of the headaches that goes with connectivity at sea. So these are the different components of the MCP. So in order to make digitalization and make e-navigation, everybody needs to use the MCP. Well, where is it? Who's running it? Is it on a computer in Thomas's basement? Do we really want to use that, everybody? And the answer is no, you don't. And you don't have to, because the MCP is not the MCP. It is not one single system that everybody needs to use. It is actually either a decentralized system, a system with many different individual entities, or you could also see it as several different systems that are harmonized. So one decentralized system or different systems that are harmonized doesn't really matter, but it is important they're harmonized. Otherwise, we have not achieved anything. It needs to be harmonized in the same way that the data is harmonized, that the services are harmonized, the platform we use for service discoverability and authentication of identities also needs to be harmonized. So harmonization means we need to have some standards that describes that, so somebody needs to do that. So for that purpose, we have the Maritime Connectivity Platform Consortium. So as Mahesh mentioned, this consortium was established in 2019, and it is inspired by the World Wide Web Consortium that governs many of the standards that we use on the internet. So it has host members, which are the founding fathers of the consortium. They form a board, and everybody else can join as general or regular members. All the host members are non-profit organization, and everybody joins in a general assembly that is the highest body of the organization. And beneath, we have several working groups that are working on the exact standards and procedures that needs to be put in place in order to realize the MCP. And we also have an advisory board to get some input from important international organizations. So that's the MCP and a bit of a status of where we are today. The MCP has actually been underway for a long time, not quite as long as e-navigation, but since 2009, 10, something like that. Some of you would know that it was actually called the Maritime Cloud at that time. We needed to change the name because that was a lot of misconception, thinking that we were storing everything in a cloud solution, which we are not. So we changed this to the Maritime Connectivity Platform. So that is what we are really doing. We are facilitating connectivity. But testbed has been running since 2015. And the consortium, as mentioned, was established in February 2019. And there are now 24, 25 members from many different countries of the consortium. And they're beginning to come operational MCP instances. The first ones were in Korea, operated by the Ministry of Ocean and Fisheries. And then we have one in Sweden by the Navalink Consortium that was previously mentioned. The Navalink Consortium that was established by Wärtsilä, Saab, and Kongsberg in order to run an MCP instance. We now have FinTraffic from Finland, a governmentally owned organization that, among other things, run the VTS centers in Finland. They're in the process of setting up an MCP instance. And last week, I learned that Kronstadt from Russia has decided to set up an operational instance as part of a governmentally funded e-navigation program. And I believe the Russian authorities will be using that to provide e-navigation services from their side. So several instances is coming along. We are maturing the standards and everything is getting more robust and more mature. So I do believe that the MCP is beginning to position itself as a framework, a global framework for providing this connectivity, trusted, featuring information exchange among different stakeholders to support e-navigation and digitalization of the maritime domain as at large, which was the intention of this platform from the beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Interesting subject, Mr. Ali Manjani?
Yeah, that's right, Pauline. Look, as I said earlier on, the exchange of information from ship to shore features in 3 of the 5 IMO agreed e-navigation solutions. So I think the start of this symposium with these 2 pivotal presentations has been very well thought and put in by the program organizers, so full marks to them. But we're not finished as yet. We have one more speaker who will now shift focus to the eNav architecture and its links to VTS, and will showcase an e-navigation roadmap, and Canada will show us how it's done. So to have that final presentation, I'd like to invite Jean-François Coutu. Mr. Coutu has been a software engineer for the Canadian Coast Guard for over 20 years and has been representing Canada at IALA for the last 12 years. He's now manager of the informatics department at the Canadian Coast Guard and leads the e-navigation and VTMIS areas. Good day, Jean-François, and over to you.
Thank you, Mahesh, and thank you to the organizers for allowing me this opportunity to present today. As you mentioned, my presentation will be about e-navigation architecture and VTS. So let's begin. So unfortunately for all of you pizza lovers, my presentation should not contain any reference to ordering a pizza at this time, at least not willingly. But we will be talking about a lot of technologies. As you've certainly heard in the last 2 days, there's a lot of technologies that are applicable to e-navigation. I've put some on the slide there. There are even more, like artificial intelligence and statistical analysis. And at the risk of failing miserably, I will attempt today to link them all together and create a single architecture where we can see all the different pieces fit together to reach a purpose. So this will be obviously a shore-based perspective, but the benefit of the proposed architecture for mariners should become quite clear as the presentation progresses. It's also worth noting that this is probably not the only way to make these pieces fit together, but over here in Canada, we believe it's a good starting point for anyone wanting to understand and undertake e-navigation. So let's begin first by identifying some objectives. So this is from a VTS point of view. What are the VTS objectives for e-navigation? It's not an extensive list, but the basic requirements that VTS might have for e-navigation. So obviously streamline and automate the process of vessel reporting, improve grounding, collision, striking avoidance, automate information exchange, and last but not least, enable an integrated image, which would show both the vessel traffic and factors that need to be considered, such as the water conditions, the meteorological information, and data from reliable sources if they're relevant to the situation. So with that, we're able to start our voyage down to the e-navigation architecture, but let's start with something that that we hold very dear. It's our partners and our stakeholders. What's important here to realize is that these partners will have different needs and they will have different tools, and they'll be looking for something different from e-navigation. So we need to keep that into consideration. Some might use specific tools and some might not. So on the upper part of the slide, you have your harbor master, your port actors. They may be using something called Port CDM, or Port Collaborative Decision-Making Tool, which they use to optimize their operations for logistics, for coordination. Just below that, we have the ship agent or a mariner, a pilot who's planning a voyage onshore. They might use a voyage planning tool that may have route optimization included in its capacity and its features. We also need to consider boaters, fishermen, coastal communities. They are players, important players as well. And last but not least, of course, the commercial shipping with the mariner on board, which may use different tools such as an ECDIS, an ECES, a PPU if they're a pilot. They might also have a different tool for ship reporting altogether. So all these partners and stakeholders have different tools, different needs, and they all want to interact. They all want to be part of e-navigation. From the Shore Authority perspective, in order to account for all these different needs and all these connectivity to all the various clients, we need to provide services, web services or portals to exchange the information with all of these partners. Notice here that the Maritime Connectivity Platform, the MCP, which was just introduced by Mr. Christensen, is identified here as part of a cloud solution to reach or to bridge the various clients with the various services that are provided by the Shore Authority. Moving forward to the next slide, we introduce here a bit of color in the very black and white presentation. So don't be startled by the deep color scheme here, but this is meant to highlight that we do recognize two different types of digital communication conduits for e-navigation. There's the general purpose digital communications like cellular 4G, 5G, or satellite low Earth orbit constellations. Those are public or commercial systems that are used by ships mostly to reach the public cloud or internet. But ships will also want to use some dedicated maritime digital communication methods through the Shore Authority network, like AIS, ASM functionality, VDE terrestrial, VDE satellite, NAVDAT. But hopefully, whatever mean or conduit is used to reach the Shore Authority services, the services that are provided come from the same source, the same core services based on international standards. And that is the subject of the next slide with some more color. Here we see that on the Shore Authority side, there is a need to have a repository of situational awareness and maritime safety information available as services, published services, to be more precise. All these services, these web services and these portals that are available, they pull their information from standardized data sources, and that's very important. And that's where all the new standards are coming in, like S100, S200, and S400. It's very important that these services are available in these compatible format for distribution to all those partners. This is obviously a more shore-to-ship service where the authorities or the shore authorities provide situational awareness to the ships that are in their waters. The next slide introduces the single window. I'm sure you've heard of single window. We here believe that single window is a bit more of a bidirectional component of e-navigation, a more collaborative component. So single window will provide a way to exchange the data, and of particular importance in that exchange is the ship route plan, and of course, the reporting. We foresee that the single window will become the hub of the route and the voyage information exchange between shore and ship. And it should, because it is very important to have all the partners onshore and at sea synchronized on the route plans and the ETAs of ships that are voyaging in the waters domestically and internationally. And this slide is really where the magic happens. By providing your VTS, the ship's route plan in a standardized format, along with the situational awareness information, so you can see the bright yellow arrows there, so the ship route comes from the single window and the situational awareness comes from our e-navigation hub where all our information are available in S100 format. Then the VTS can compare the route plan with its sensor data like AIS and radar, and it can apply some rules which will help the operators do monitoring and surveillance and assistance, core services to the VTS. A VTS can then detect if a ship has a planned route or not. It can also detect if the ship suddenly slows down compared to its planned speed to meet its ETA, or if it leaves its planned route. The VTS can also detect possible collision risks by comparing routes from different vessels. It allows the shore authority to react and be proactive on managing potentially risky situations and avoid the risk becoming an incident. So this is the very important part of where VTS can really leverage e-navigation to improve and to attain its objectives. But plans do change. Sometimes the routes need to be updated because there's a delay at the arriving port, because the water level is lower than expected, so the tide window is smaller, or the air gap is sufficient under a specific bridge. These external factors can be considered to obtain a more accurate route plan for the ships. Shore authorities and stakeholders might take additional steps to ensure that real-time traffic is planned as accurately as possible, such as including underkill clearance, traffic management, lock orders, pilotage rules, etc., in their route calculations before the route is sent to the VTS. That new, more accurate route can then be used by the VTS, but also updated to the single window, and then all stakeholders get the most accurate route calculated, giving everyone the most realistic, real-time, accurate status of ship movements, departures, and arrivals. And here you have it, the complete picture of the e-navigation architecture strategy for Canada. Now, I won't lie to you, this whole architecture will take a lot of work. So we have built a roadmap of our migration towards this architecture. Here it is for reference. We have progressed on many of those initiatives. Some are almost complete, some are just starting, and some are still at the design phase. So still a lot of work remains. On the left side, you will find a various level of digitalization involved in the various components. The higher it is, the more complex the project will be, but also the more benefits it will bring. If you look carefully at these levels, you will see that they also reflect the IMO's definition of e-navigation. So from bottom to top, to collect, integrate, exchange, present, and eventually enhanced. So this is our roadmap, our work plan for the next few years, and that's what will be busy or keep us busy for a number of years ahead. And that is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, if I can help in any way, please don't hesitate to contact me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Also nice added value, this final presentation.
Indeed, Pauline. To me, it was quite remarkable listening to Jean-Francois's talk about how wide the eNav ecosystem is and the number of diverse partners and stakeholders that will benefit from when e-navigation changes from a concept now to an operational reality. We could also see clearly how maritime services described so nicely by Axel and Thomas fit into the big e-navigation architecture. So I think the three presentations have complemented each other quite well.
And this is a good moment that we have a discussion with each other, because we have three dial-in presenters here with us. They will appear on screen, and we have a question. So if we can manage to see the three presenters at the same time, that would be great. They are coming up right now, so we'll be seeing them. But now you have some nice... yeah, if you also have a question, of course, you can post them as well, Mr. Adam Chandani. We are waiting for them to come up in the screen.
Okay, so I can put it on to the general chat, or would you like me to ask a question now here of one of the speakers?
Yeah, you can do that right now while we're waiting for the speakers to come back. So if you have a question, you can do that, and they will probably hear it and respond to it.
Okay, one for Jean-Francois. Can you tell us, or what do you think would be the upcoming technology that you think will have impact on e-navigation?
Okay.
Yes, thank you for the question. We've spoken so much about connectivity these last 2 days. My opinion is obviously a technology that will have a big impact on connectivity, and one that I'm keeping track of is satellite low Earth orbit constellation. The promise of having large bandwidth at very affordable prices available globally, even at the poles for the shipping industry, I think will revolutionize e-navigation in transport, maritime transport as a whole, and pave the way for more advanced things such as mass and autonomous ships. I think that's the technology that I'm most eager to see being available to all.
Yeah, and we also have a question for Mr. Christensen. Is the Maritime Connectivity Platform Consortium a sufficiently robust organization to deliver the global maritime communication framework? I think that's an interesting question also for you, for the other presenters to react to. Go ahead.
Right, thank you. Well, obviously, the MCP consortium is not an organization like IALA or IMO or IHO that has been around for decades. But I think it is important to note that if, heaven forbid, that the consortium disappeared tomorrow, the MCP would not disappear. The MCP would be running with the different instances that are actually running concrete instances of the MCP, much as if the World Wide Web Consortium disappeared tomorrow. That wouldn't make the internet stop working. Of course, some organizations need to reach out to each other to make sure that the harmonization would stay in place and we would still be running with the same standards. So somebody needs to do something, but it wouldn't mean that the MCP would stop working. So that is an important point in this context, I think.
Anyone else who would like to react to Mr. Christensen?
Just what Thomas said, this definitely is, you have to regard it as some kind of service organization. It is providing the standards and provide help to define that. That is, for instance, helping IALA to develop a guideline 1168 and others. And it is providing input, for instance, to IAC and other standardization bodies as well in parallel. So regard this as a supportive activity. And it's a club. It's a association. It's a fanboy club supporting that and bringing this further on. It's just a way to organize to develop a specification. It's open. It's open to everybody. It's free of charge, and it's just a big thing undertaking to bring together German force. And especially, I have to thank to Thomas and especially to South Korea to support that and sponsor it financially wise to bring this further on. I think that's a big thing, and but just regard this as an organization form to define the standards necessary to do so, so that then Jean-François has something to take and to implement and run on his behalf and his responsibility. It's just a support.
And what is needed to become maybe as big as the other organizations that have been there for decades? What is needed at this point to become a robust organization?
Thomas?
Well, maybe that's not the aim. I mean, we've even talked about the possibility of the MCP consortium to be assimilated to another existing organization. That may also be the future. Basically, we just want to see this become a reality. The goal is not to create a big organization around it. We just want to see the MCP become a reality and support e-navigation and digitalization in the maritime domain.
Nice, thank you. We also have a question for Mr. Goutu. What upcoming technology do you think will have a significant impact on e-navigation?
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned, I think communication is the key here, and we're certainly monitoring a lot of various communication technology. I think VDES is definitely promising. And as I've mentioned, satellite LEO, low Earth orbit constellation is at the top of my mind. And if I could name a third one, cellular 5G, I think shows a lot of promise as well for the maritime world. Okay.
Is there anything that you would like to add, Mr. Alimchandani?
Yeah, thanks, Pauline. Look, just a quick one for Axel. For the benefit of all attendees, Axel chairs one of the working groups at the IALA's Information Services and Communications, or what was previously known as the ENAV Committee. Axel, can you tell us very briefly, or just list for us some of the work that the working group is doing in developing guidance? For example, we've done one on the platforms for maritime services. And can you give us some examples of the kind of work IALA is doing to progress maritime services?
Yeah. So we are pretty much in the machine room of everything. And at IALA and in other organizations, we have experts. We have experts for BTS, we have experts for AIDS navigation, we have experts for engineering activities on these issues. And we NAVI committee, we try to provide a broad support for that, the standard necessary to develop the services in the specific domain. So it provides the templates, it provides the harmonization of that. And then this is taken by the experts to develop them the specific services, for instance, for BTS information and all that stuff. So we try to do the organization, the harmonization of it. Just to give you an example, we developed the concept of a unique, universal identification mechanism, so that we have a unique way to make reference to each entity in the world of the navigation. We name the maritime resource numbering MRN. And something like that, that is the support we are doing here. And support when we have other activities to bring in the domain expertise, to apply that and to develop necessary services or service specifications. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to harmonize it.
Great. And before we're wrapping up, I would like to know what is it that you're hoping to get out of this 14th symposium? And if you mention that, what do you need for that? Let's start at Mr. Coutu.
Well, for me, those events are always full of exchange of ideas and information between what's going on one side of the planet and what's going on the other side. It's a source of inspiration, really, in our work, trying to put all these ideas together and come up with new ideas. It's really a creativity exercise for me personally.
And is there something specific that you would like to mention or that you need to get the most out of it?
Well, I've seen some presentation already that I found extremely interesting. I'll mention the one from Wärtsilä, where their algorithm can detect behavior and then try to alert the operators on a risky situation. I thought that was revolutionary, and it's a little bit what we had in mind also in our architecture, but not to that level, to that same level. So that's always fun to see.
Nice.
Or similar ideas taken to different levels.
Yeah. Mr. Thomas Christensen?
Yes, of course. My focus is on the MCP. So such a symposium here that provides me input on what is going on in the digitalization process in many different areas, and of course that is input to how we develop further the MCP, because we want that to be a platform to support all these different services and solutions. So this is very important for us to be able to follow what is going on and which direction development is being done.
Yeah, and I really liked your opening that you said good morning, but then we're missing the afternoon. So I was thinking, why not good morning night or good more after night? Then we have all the parts, right?
Yeah, right.
And for you, Mr. Hahn?
Yes, I see this whole digitalization stuff as a big challenge. And as a big challenge, it has come also with the potential of a disruptive evolution. And we have to face that. And we have to see the challenge and to make the best out of it and make a brighter and more safer navigation of the future. And I think we have a lot of mechanisms on hand to do so. And I think we have to come together. And this is one contribution here we have with this symposium, to bring people together, to work on that and to find a brighter vision and to change navigation. I think there will be a change as in any other domain of the world. By digitalization, we have to make the best out of it and we have the power to do so.
Great. Well, I hope that there will be some inspiration, answers, solutions for the challenging time that we are facing, of course. Is there anything that you would like to say before we wrap up with the guest, Mr. Alim Zanani?
No, I think in different words, the three presenters have sort of captured what I was going to say anyway, so I won't repeat it. The only thing I'd like to do is thank the three presenters for their excellent presentations. And like them, I look forward to the rest of the program for the next 3 days. Thank you.
And thank you very much for being such a wonderful chair this session. I thought that you were going to say, and I'm looking forward to the pizza, because that's time for pizza right now. So thank you very much for being with us. And thank you, gentlemen, for being with us. And I don't know exactly what time you're in, but I hope that it's time for pizza for all of you. Thank you very much and have a wonderful
See you later.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a beer with it. Bye.
Yeah, we are wrapping up this final session on day 2. And tomorrow we start again at 11 UTC time, Wednesday, April 14. But we have a side event that starts a little bit earlier, 1 hour early, between 10 and 11 UTC. It is the webinar Digital at Sea. And we have 4 guests, Mr. Francis Zachariah, Secretary General IALA, Mr. Andreas Noordzet, Director General DMA, Mr. Sanbo Hong, Director of Korea MOF, and Mr. Ed Wendland, President of RTCM. You will see a link in the chat that will appear today, but also tomorrow. So you can click on the link and then you're in this session. So please enjoy. And like I said, there's a lot happening on the platform, so go check it out. There will be a new poll that I will refer to tomorrow morning or afternoon or night, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow.